So I made a video on why I thought that removing movement speed would be a good idea in Ark Survival Ascended. And this video became way bigger than I actually thought it would, and it sparked a lot of discussion in the comments, and I felt like it's justified for me to go through and read out some of these comments that I thought were interesting. So this video is a part 2 to why no movement speed is a good change for Ark Survival Evolved. The first comment we have here is from Gaming Tucker 81, who says,
I love speeding around the game, but I agree this is a good decision. Helps fighting midgets now since everyone wants to be Dash.
Yeah, I 100% agree with this comment. I've always hated getting into PvP fights where everybody's running at like Mach 1 and it's impossible to hit each other, especially with like sniper rifles, and it's even worse with bows. And then when the characters are super tiny, yeah, it's like Dash from The Incredibles. It is incredibly annoying.
It will also force people to use the dinos more.
Yeah, this is one of the better things that I don't think a lot of people realize. I didn't mention this in my video, but people don't use dinos a lot of the time because they can often just outrun them by pumping movement speed. While this is super unrealistic to be able to run this fast, it should force people to use dinos more, considering, this is a dinosaur game and not an Olympic sprinting game.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. One of my close friends and I have been saying this for 6 years. Keeping critters and people at the base speed would make the game way more engaging. You can't outrun much. Even exploring on foot will be a death sentence now, which will have people riding around on much less used dinos.
Yes, and this is just, I am so excited for this change because of this. We might actually see people riding around on raptors, possibly even gallimimuses. But yeah, we'll see a bunch of a lot less used dinos that'll be good for movement speed and getting around the map. Birds will probably still be used a lot, and who knows, maybe we'll even see somebody on a frog or something. I think overall this is going to be a very good change.
I like the speed changes, but my biggest concern about it is Master Controller. The way the fight is designed, you need speed for that fight. There are many Gen 1 and Gen 2 missions where you need speed, for example, Buggerino, where you can't even get from jump pad to jump pad fast enough without getting overrun, let alone go pick up a weapon and then make it to a jump pad. A lot of this is going to need serious rebalancing if the movement speed is locked for players and dinos with the upcoming nerf.
So this is one of the few times where I feel like the movement speed is actually a bad decision. And this is going to be one thing that's going to need to change. There's going to have to be some sort of rework to Gen 1 and Gen 2 missions, considering that they were completely designed with the idea of the player having pumped movement speed and being quick and getting around fast. If they don't make changes to this, I'm going to be pretty surprised, because there will be a lot of backlash from the community. I feel like they will make changes to it, but who knows? This is Studio Wildcard we're talking about here.
Hard agree. For one, movement speed is too good. Honestly, I kinda think all levels on creatures should be automatic rather than player picked. Because in a game with over 100 creatures, players only use like 10 of them cause you can just buff up stats of tame to breed creatures too. Overtake natural ones, like, who tames gollies when they can tame a creature with okay speed and better stats? And then make it fast.
Yeah, I kind of agree with this. Certain creatures I felt really ruined the game in terms of movement and how fast they were. Like, the flying ice dragons known as, what are they, fucking manas, I think they're called. And then, another one was the Maywing. I felt like those allowed you to go around the map way too fast. I'm not too sure how I feel about, stats being picked by the game rather than not being able to pump things. I feel like you should be able to pump health and stamina and all that. I felt like movement speed needed to go, though.
I personally think 150 being cap would have been better. Bad hitboxes also play a part in no hit reg, and 150 isn't too crazy fast, so I think it's fair. TBH just seems like it's gonna make things more annoying rather than more difficult.
Having a small cap on the movement speed would probably be okay at like 120, but 150 is way too fast. At that point, you're already outrunning raptors and saber-tooths and most fast creatures in the game. If you think about this sort of in real life, you can't outrun a jaguar or a mountain lion. Nobody can outrun a mountain lion. And this is supposed to be a dinosaur. This cat is freaking huge, and raptors are designed to be fast, and you just shouldn't be able to outrun these kind of things. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be more difficult, but in order for things to be difficult, they have to be annoying, or else you wouldn't want to get better at it or find some sort of a solution.
It only benefits for PvP, not PvE. There is a large portion of the player base that only likes to build and breed. Movement speed is very helpful for us.
So I've seen a lot of PvE players complaining about this change, which absolutely boggles my mind, because isn't the point of PvE player versus environment? I feel like PvE players would probably enjoy not having the movement speed buff. You would have a lot better of a survival experience without being able to pump movement speed. And this would also encourage taming dinosaurs, and you won't have to worry about players, so I don't really see what the negative here is for you guys. I feel like if anything, this was a move for the PvE community. I'm surprised to see a lot of PvE players complaining about this.
I was hyped for this change as soon as they announced it.
I was too, man. I saw a TikTok about it when I first discovered it, and that's what got me all hyped for it. Problem is, as soon as I went to the comments section, I saw a lot of people debating on what they thought, if they thought that this was a good change or not, and that's what inspired me to make the video here in the part 1 before this.
It's a positive change, even if ping or no regs weren't a problem, because turbo speed was just a stupid meta. It doesn't make the game more fun that every person and a bunch of dinos moved at Mach 90. Call of Duty wouldn't be a more fun PvP game if everyone moved to 150% faster, and same goes for many other PvP games. Even if we ignore PvP and just talk about PvE, it's not good game development to make it meta for players to ignore a big bulk of dinosaurs the game has to offer, because leveling up mobility on your player or other dinosaurs is just way more optimal of a choice. Now more dinos will be more relevant, and I won't have to try to trace someone who's moving at 100 mph through the woods.
Wow, there is not a lot to comment about this one. He pretty much summed it up perfectly. Nobody wants to chase somebody going 100 miles an hour through the woods. And Call of Duty is a great example. Call of Duty has a very fine line on movement speed, and it is carried over from game to game. And it's also very consistent and balanced in terms of the way that players move, even if it's developed over time. Great comment.
Oh, it's a complete W spot on analysis. And we could add tons of other reasons why it is a good choice, too.
Oh, yeah, sure. Here's a couple I can think of just off the top of my head. Hitbox registration, server registration, realism, physics, balancing, and I mean, that's just me talking the last 30 seconds. I'm sure I can think of more if I just sat down for like 20 minutes and just thought of ideas.
In the 5 years of playing Ark, I don't think I ever leveled up my speed. So this change won't make a really big difference for me.
Hey man, well that's good for you. It sounds like you play a lot of single player, which honestly, I've tried playing single player before without pumping movement speed, and I'll tell you, it's so much more fun not being able to outrun every single living thing and just have a get out of jail free card, and having to actually like watch your back, tame dinos, and slowly progress through the game how it was intended. So props to you, man. You're probably having a lot of fun right now.
This happens in single player too. I regularly get arrows sticking out of dinos I shoot at without them getting hurt. Why? The game is on my console and not on another hardware far away.
So I'm going to try and explain this simply, and keep in mind I'm not a wildcard dev, so this is just what I'm assuming is why this might happen. And this has to do with arrows interacting with the skin of a dinosaur, rather than interacting with the hitbox of a dinosaur, or creature, whatever you're trying to shoot at. It's kind of hard to explain why there's two separate hitboxes, and I guess the simplest way to put it is hitboxes won't cost nearly as much, I guess we'll call it fuel for this example, compared to having to constantly ask if a dinosaur has been hit on the skin. So it's basically a comparison of being hit on the skin or mesh of a dinosaur versus their actual hitbox that has been put in by the developers. I hope that answers your question there.
Ark does not revolve around the PvP kiddies exclusively. You are doing exactly what the devs are doing, completely ignoring the fact there is a huge part of this game played exclusively in PvE mode. By your logic, they might as well stop the ability to make your character smaller so bobs are easier to hit, or nerfing Stam for similar reasons.
Alrighty, so I mean, we touched up on this earlier about PvE and how I feel like it's probably going to be better for the PvE community to not have movement speed. But just towards the end of your comment here, saying that by my logic I would change it so that you can't change your character size. That is exactly what I would do. I've always hated the fact that on PvP you just need to make your character as small as possible in order to make your hitbox way smaller and be less visible. I feel like it should just be a consistent hitbox, and you shouldn't be able to change your character's size, rather than you should just be able to change your character's facial features. I don't feel like stamina has ever needed a nerf. I felt like stamina's always been fine.
I understand why, but I like to outrun dinos. Perhaps a movement speed limit instead.
Yeah, I kind of get where you're coming with this. It is kind of funny to be able to just outrun every single dino. I feel like a lot of modded servers are going to put movement speed back, or at least have a limit on how much you can put into it. So, I mean, if you don't like the change, you're probably going to be able to do it in unofficial or modded or however that's going to work.
People didn't really like when they removed the flyer speed levels.
Yeah, this decision really divided the community back when I was playing. Me personally, I was all for the change. I felt that flyers were just completely meta for the first 2 years of the game. It was insane. You were literally able to outrun the speeds that turrets could shoot if you just maximum speeded a Pteranodon. It was absurd.
One word. Truden. You thought they were annoying before. Try now when you can't pump speed to run from them.
So there's certain counters in the game that you can do, such as taming a dinosaur that can fight them off, such as a raptor or a trike, or you could just not go out at night. But here's something a lot of the player base doesn't know. If you hold a torch next to a Troodon at night, they're not nearly as aggressive, and I think they might actually run away from you a little bit. A lot of people don't know about that, and I only discovered it a year after they were added, when somebody finally told me about it. So there's certain little counters like that that I feel like people are going to need to learn.
Do you think swamp aids will still increase movement speed, or will it be an absolute detriment to you? Focal Chili 2.
So I'm actually really puzzled by this comment. Because they're removing movement speed, I actually don't know if swamp aids will actually help you or not. So back then, it would like nerf all your stats, but it would give you, I think, 120% movement speed, which some people actually liked. Yeah, I've genuinely got no idea. I think we're going to have to just wait for a game release in order to see that. So this video is actually starting to get really long. So instead of commenting on some of these, I'm just going to highlight some of my favorite comments here. And yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you for watching.
Yes, no more running around like a crackhead, making it impossible to shoot people. Not only that, but it just looks so stupid, people running around with 200 speed. Great fix. Good video.
Arc PvP is the most tedious thing out there. Two dudes just run around in circles desperately trying to hit one another until one of them dies, presumably of old age or heart attack.
No zooming snails. Shame.
Can't outrun raptors on the beach anymore, LOL.
And thank you so much for the support on the first video. It absolutely blew me out of the water how much support that video got. And I'm glad to see I'm not the only one who appreciates this change. Anyways, thank you for listening. I'll see you later.